Crop growth and development are primarily governed by environmental conditions, that is, climate and soil. The success or failure of crops is intimately related to the weather during the crop periods. The modification of weather, except to a limited extent, is difficult and uneconomical. However, it is possible to get high crop yields by adjusting cropping patterns and by following suitable agronomic practices to mitigate the adverse effects of weather. Weather has significant influence on every phase of agricultural activity, from preparatory tillage to harvesting and storage. A sound knowledge of the climatic factors and its interaction with crop is essential for successful agriculture. Land use efficiency increases with proper planning in agriculture. The increased demand for food with the increase in population in India warrants a systematic description of soils and climatic resources, so as to put land under proper use, as the soils and climatic conditions of an area dictate cropping patterns and crop yields. Reliable information on these factors is basic to maximize agricultural production on a sustainable basis. Hence, agroclimatic classification gains importance in all countries. The topic of agroclimates for mulberry is to be studied under following different headings. Number 1, agroclimatic divisions. Number 2, climatic factors on growth and development of mulberry. Number 3, mulberry sericulture zones of Karnataka. Number 4, development of microclimate for mulberry. Agroclimatic zone is a land unit which is climatically suitable for cultivation of crops and cultivars according to Food and Agricultural Organization 1983. An ecological region is characterized by distinct ecological responses to macroclimatic conditions as experienced in vegetation, fauna and aquatic systems. Therefore, an agroecological region is the land unit on the earth's surface carved out of agroclimatic region, which it is superimposed on landform and the kinds of soils and soil conditions. Those act as modifiers on the climate and length of growing period. Within a broad agroclimatic region, local conditions may result in several agroecosystems, each with its own environmental conditions. However, similar agroecosystems may develop on comparable soil and landscape positions. Thus, a small variation in climate may not result in different ecosystems, but a pronounced difference is seen in vegetation and reflected in soils. However, the attempt made by Krishnan and Mukhtar Singh in the year 1969 is noteworthy. For India, India has been divided into 8 major moisture regions on moisture index, each divided into 2 to 3 isothermic belts, and each belt is further divided after superimposing on a map showing 14 important broad soil classes, thus giving 63 subdivisions. The Planning Commission, as a result of mid-term appraisal of the planning targets of 7th Plan, that is 1985 to 1990, divided the country into 15 agroclimatic zones based on physiography and climate. The emphasis was on the development of resources and their optimum utilization in a sustainable manner within the framework of resources, constraints and potentials of each region. This implied a departure from the previous practice of planning with a focus on specific crops and fertilizers, treating the state as a unit of planning. The state agricultural universities, that is SAUs, are advised to divide each zone or state into subzones under the National Agricultural Research Project, that is NARP. Accordingly, 120 subzone maps based primarily on rainfall, existing cropping patterns and administrative unit were prepared. Advantages of agroclimatic classifications. It aids for proper exploitation of crops and animal productivity. Identification of homoclimatic would pave way to identify soil and climatic problems related to agriculture. It also enables for the easy introduction of new crops from other similar regions. Development of crop production technologies specific for each region. To prepare and undertake research agenda to solve regional problems and to transfer the technology across similar environments. Climate is the most dominating factor influencing the suitability of a crop to a particular region. The yield potential of a crop mainly depends on climate. More than 50% of variation in yield of a crop is due to the climatic differences. The types of vegetation or crops are determined by climate. The most important climatic factors that influence growth, development and yield of crops are solar radiation, temperature, rainfall, relative humidity and wind velocity. Some of the important climatic factors influencing on mulberry are: number 1, temperature; number 2, light; number 3, atmospheric humidity and rainfall; number 4, air and air pollution. Let us study one by one. First one, temperature. Almost all the physiological processes of plants are controlled or influenced by the temperature prevailing in the atmosphere as also in the soil. Lower and higher temperature outside optimum range slows down or inhibits the plant growth. Temperature denotes the heat energy available from solar radiation. On studying the latitude and longitude of mulberry growing tracts, it is found that most of the mulberry growing countries lie north of the equator, between 28° north to 55° north, except Brazil, which lies south of the equator, 14° south to 23° south. Temperature variations are among the most important climatic factors affecting mulberry growth. Mulberry can be grown under a wide range of temperatures, ranging from temperature to tropical. In temperate conditions, mulberry doesn't sprout during the winter season, while in tropics, the growth is continuous in majority of the states of India. The temperature is favorable for luxuriant growth of mulberry throughout the year. The temperature in Karnataka state generally ranges between 21°C and 33°C, while in West Bengal it varies between 15°C and 37°C. In both these states, mulberry exhibits good growth throughout the year. In the Kashmir Valley, during winter, the temperature drops down to -10°C, while in July, temperature around 25°C to 30°C are quite common. In this climate, mulberry put forth luxuriant foliage between May and September. For the optimum growth of mulberry and good sprouting of the buds, the mean atmospheric temperature should not fall below 13°C, and if the temperature falls below this limit, mulberry remains in dormant condition. The mean maximum temperature should not be above 37.7°C. However, for best mulberry growth, temperature range of 23.9°C to 30.0°C is found to be optimum. Second one, light. Light is one of the most important factors influencing the growth and development of mulberry plants, as it is the only energy source for mulberry plants to carry out photosynthesis and to synthesize organic matter. Also, light is directly concerned with the production of hormones and synthesis of chlorophyll. Light affects the mulberry plants in form, structure, output and leaf quality. It is estimated that Out of an approximate 40 into 10 to the power of 6 kilocalories of solar energy incident on Earth's surface, energy conversion is in the order of 0.1 to 1.0% under normal agriculture to 2.0 to 2.5% under intensive cultivation. This is in comparison to 20 to 25% conversion achievable under laboratory conditions. Low levels of energy conversion resulting in low productivity and poor quality under normal practices is largely attributed to limitations of the inputs such as deficiency of nutrients and water, high or low temperature and low or high light intensity. Plants grown under higher light intensity, that is within optimum range, develop stout stems and thicker leaves compared to those under shade. There exists a direct relationship between production rate during photosynthesis and colonial structure in a mulberry plantation. In the closely planted mulberry plantation, lower the branches, twigs and leaves, less they absorb light energy and lower the intensity of photosynthesis, and thus reduction in leaf production. For this reason, the planting density of a mulberry plantation should be adequate. Number 3. Atmospheric humidity and rainfall. Water is the major component of mulberry plants, accounting for 60 to 80% of the fresh leaf weight. Most of the water is contained in the cell, that is 85 to 90% water, where it provides a suitable medium for many biochemical reactions. However, water has many other roles to play in the physiology of mulberry plants, and it is unequally fitted by its physical and chemical properties to fulfill these roles. Water is the most suitable medium for transport of organic molecules, inorganic ions and atmospheric gases. During growth period, mulberry requires about 200 to 800 milliliter of water to synthesize 1 gram of dry matter. The water requirement is not constant. It changes greatly with the changing conditions of climate, soil moisture, etc. Rainwater is lost in the form of runoff on hill slopes, and therefore the farmers should practice terrace cropping to conserve water. Water is always present in the atmosphere in the form of invisible water vapor. This is normally known as humidity of the air. The other forms of atmospheric moisture are cloud, fog, etc. Fourth one, air and air pollution. Another indispensable factor for mulberry plant to carry on life activity is air, which contains about 21% oxygen and 0.03% carbon dioxide, which acts directly on the respiration and photosynthesis of mulberry plants. Usually, the intensity of photosynthesis increases with an increase in carbon dioxide. When the carbon dioxide is within a range of 0.03% to 0.1%, which promotes growth and yield. A marked increase in carbon dioxide can be made by the application of organic manure to the plantation. The utilization of sunlight for photosynthesis and respiration will be obstructed by dust, steam, fog, etc. present in the air when these are often adhered to the leaf surface. If the leaves are polluted by such poisonous materials as coal smoke, waste gases released by factories, sulfur dioxide and hydrogen fluoride contained in the air, it will poison the silkworms also. Therefore, it is advisable to avoid setting up a mulberry plantation in a close vicinity of mines and factories. In India, Karnataka is the premier state in production of mulberry raw silk, accounting 43%. In Karnataka, though mulberry sericulture is practiced mainly in southern parts, nevertheless, in other parts of the state too, mulberry is cultivated for rearing of silkworms. Mulberry is widely adaptable, perennial, deep-rooted and high biomass producing foliage plant. The perennial nature necessitates its exposure to climatic variations throughout the year. In addition, being a continuous and fast-growing plant, it requires agronomical care for optimizing the yield of a good quality leaf. The package of practices is presently followed with respect to broad climatic types such as temperate in Jammu and Kashmir, subtropical in West Bengal and tropical in South India. In India, 4 types of mulberry cultivation has been practiced, namely rain-fed pit system, irrigated pit system, irrigated row system and paired row system. In addition, small tree types of plantation has also been practiced. Keeping in view the crop characters of mulberry plant and its response to climate, Karnataka state has been divided into 5 mulberry sericulture zones, namely number 1, southern dry zone, number 2, central and northern dry zone, number 3, transition zone, number 4, hilly zone, number 5, coastal zone. Let us study one by one in brief. Southern dry zone. This largely covers the 5 traditional sericultural districts characterized by subsistence farming practices. Even though the red soil commonly found in the region is ideal for mulberry cultivation and the climate is slightly moderate, use of fewer inputs, local mulberry varieties, scanty rainfall and limited irrigation resources, particularly in Mysore and Kolar districts, have resulted in poor yields of inferior quality leaf. The overall cocoon productivity is very low. The package of practices recommended for low bush mulberry under 2 feet by 2 feet and 3 feet by 3 feet pit system are suited for the zone. However, special measures such as rejuvenation of existing mulberry gardens by gap filling, replacement of existing local variety with improved ones and enrichment of soil with organic matter are essential for the entire zone. Second one, central and northern dry zone. This zone is characterized by hot and dry climate during most part of the year. Majority of the farmers have large land holdings which remain uncultivated during hot summer months. Mulberry is thus exposed to the climate severity, resulting in death of mulberry plants or reduction of plant yields. Development of microclimate in the mulberry gardens by special protection measures against high temperature of the surrounding land, hot wind and very bright sunlight during summer months would help in impairing the yield and quality of mulberry leaf. Pit system of mulberry cultivation with wider spacing of 3 feet by 3 feet and higher crown height with well developed crop canopy are more suited. Third one, transition zone. This zone has a moderate climate and is ideal for both mulberry cultivation and bivoltine silkworm rearing. Higher yields of good quality mulberry leaf can be obtained throughout the year with improved cultivation system. In addition, the transition zone represents good scope for addition of affluent farming, that is high input practices. High yielding varieties of mulberry coupled with adequate quantities of inputs can ensure further increase in productivity. Fourth one, hilly zone. The hilly zone is ideal for production of superior quality mulberry leaves except during heavy rainy periods. In view of distinct climatic and altitudinal characteristics, package of practices recommended for the plains do not suit to this zone. A multi-tier cultivation system with combination of low bush, high bush and small trees depending upon the size and type of land holdings would be most ideal. Fifth one, coastal zone. The shoreline stretching up to 30 to 75 km towards coast of Arabian Sea experiences very high rains, most of which received through southwest monsoon. Soil is sandy in nature. High density populations with low bush type of cultivation would be most suited for the coastal zone. the conditions prevailing in the environment of the crops constituting the microclimate influence the quality and yield of the crop biomass. It is clear that light, temperature, moisture, humidity and wind together constitute the microclimate of a crop. In case of seasonal crops, the influence of these factors is best utilized by changing the sowing and cropping season. However, in case of perennial crops such as mulberry, the cultivation system and various operations are modified to improve the microclimate so as to reduce the physiological stress. For example, shelter belts and wind breaks are provided to regulate the temperature. Pruning is altered to develop crop canopy, thereby improving the aeration and humidity within the canopy. Interrows of trees are provided to filter the excess light incident on the main crop. This will also indirectly help in conserving the soil moisture, organic matter, nitrogen and other fertility components by reducing the adverse effects of tropical climate on the soil. Development of microclimate in mulberry cultivation plays vital role, especially under the tropical climatic conditions, has not so far been given due attention. Problems such as those encountered in the hot arid zones of Karnataka can be solved at least partly by providing improved crop canopy, shelter belts, wind breaks and light filters in addition to monitoring and maintaining soil fertility status. These efforts can be brought out effectively by providing a tree cover canopy for the mulberry gardens. Relevant research information for mulberry on this aspect is scanty. However, reports are available on shade-induced increases in yields of grass and other plant species. Such increases could be attributed to conservation of soil moisture by reduced evaporation, enhanced microbial activity and stimulated mineralization of soil, nitrogen and its enhanced availability to the plant, reduced volatilization and loss of soil nitrogen, reduced respiration rates and reduced oxidation of soil organic matter. The tree canopy should be developed so as to provide filtered or reduced light intensity and not to provide a dark shade. Development of thick cover as would be available with coconut, mango, tamarind and such other trees would not, however, be suitable. Under insufficient illumination, the leaves become thin and as a result of reduced rate of photosynthesis, the harmful nitrogen compounds accumulate in the leaf biomass. Under hot arid conditions, the light intensity can be brought down and exposure of soil and plants to hot sun can be effectively reduced by growing mulberry trees all along the border. In addition, rows of small trees of mulberry can be raised at regular intervals of about 50 to 60 feet within the mulberry garden. Even though the development of such tree canopy will have little effect on the air temperature above the garden, the soil temperature and temperature within the canopy can be effectively brought down. In addition to this, the enhanced mineralization of soil nitrogen and reduction in the evaporation of soil moisture can be effectively brought out. Such effects are of special significance in hot arid zones, where higher soil temperature and depletion of soil organic matter, nitrogen and moisture are the major limiting factors.